What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Neon Arcade. Today we're going to be going over some evidence and clues from media outlets, journalists, and from the Cyberpunk development team themselves that all point towards a release date of 2019 instead of 2020 or 2021 like most people are thinking. So the first hint that the game will launch earlier than expected is that CD Projekt Red has confirmed that Cyberpunk is coming to current generation consoles in the PS4 and Xbox One. Now, to have a healthy life cycle on current gen, it has to have time to generate sales before next gen is even launched. It also needs a time for people to pick up the game for those who don't get it on launch day and rack up holiday sales during times like Christmas. Launching Cyberpunk on current gen too close to next generation diffuses a lot of the hype and potential sales it could have, as people are going to be saving for the next generation of consoles. With PS5 and Xbox 2 being slated to be announced somewhere within the next 2 to 3 years, this makes 2020 and 2021 an iffy release window. There still is a possibility of Cyberpunk being a cross-generational title, which might be a smart business move, but I don't see that happening due to the challenges that arise from developing a new game on new architecture whilst keeping the same release date in mind for both current and future gen. If we look at the time of release between back-to-back titles, it seems that cross-generational titles so far for CD Projekt Red have been 3 years. Now this has only happened once, but was between The Witcher 3 and The Witcher 2. That would put Cyberpunk somewhere on pace for a 2019 release. The reason why this is also a clue is that the difference between The Witcher 2 and Witcher 3 seems to be similar in scope to the difference between The Witcher 3 and Cyberpunk. Next up, we have news that CDPR has currently been issued a grant of 30 million zloty, which is equivalent to $7 million by the Polish government based on 4 proposals, as well as to use for upgrading and refining Red Engine, and this happened back in 2016. If they don't release something that has implemented these technologies like Red Engine 4 in their products, they may actually lose the grant. This grant also has a deadline of June 2019. Now, I'm sure they can reapply for the grant, but with the logistics and the pain in the ass factor I'm sure that would come with this, they probably want to avoid it. A $7 million grant is a big chunk of money, and that is mainly going towards projects they're working on right now, namely Cyberpunk. The next clue that Cyberpunk will release in 2019 is the fact that the multiplayer aspect will not ship with the game at launch, and has been put on the back burner. If they had the multiplayer component at launch, that would add another layer of challenges for them, and to meet a release date with optimization of servers and multiplayer assets would most likely push back the release date even further. Now that multiplayer is put to the side in the research and development phase, more energy can be used in the single player development. Next, we have the use of AI technologies by CD Projekt Red, namely Promethean AI. This is a program which expedites the development process by using its AI programs to create in-game assets at a much quicker and efficient pace, whilst retaining quality. Now, CDPR are well known for handcrafting every little detail of their games, but they do use this technology according to this article from VentureBeat, and it would make sense for this to be a starting layer in developing their game worlds. They can go over it and add those micro details after the Promethean AI program has done some of the heavy lifting. Now, we don't know at what scale this is being used for in CDPR, but I'm guessing it's probably involved somewhere in the making of Cyberpunk 2077. Next, we have the size of the development team and comparisons to the Witcher 3 team of the past. In late 2015 and at the beginning of elevated development, it was said that there are currently more developers working on Cyberpunk 2077 than The Witcher 3 in its most intensive month. That number currently sits at almost 400 people working on the game. In addition to that, another studio in Wroclaw, made primarily up of devs from a studio called Strange New Things, was opened in March 2018 to aid in the production and add some creative brainpower to the team to further bolster production. The next clue we have come from some of the impressions of the E3 demo. In Giant Bomb's post-E3 interview, it was mentioned by one of the panelists that if the game came out tomorrow, I wouldn't be surprised.
So very hard to tell, but it was extremely focused. Like, I feel like I came out of that game knowing exactly what it was. Knowing exactly what they're going for. if they told me that game were releasing tomorrow, I would say, okay, I think it looks like they are focused. You know what this is.
Right.
And you know, unlike some other stuff you see at E3, we're like, oh, you know, they're finding it.
Yeah, we'll get there. Yeah.
We'll get there.
I could
yeah.
see as early as next holiday, but not too much later past that, like 2020 at the latest, I would think.
Sure, yeah.
The demo also had little intricate details that you generally don't see in demos, like the option to skip cutscenes, which is subtle but meaningful. Many also commented on how full and developed Night City was, and in this picture, which was in-game footage, it really illustrates that fact, with the horizon line filled with assets, buildings, and even smaller details that can be correlated to a game that is further along in development. A lot of publications who are close to CD Projekt Red, relationship-wise, are also predicting 2019, with Kotaku journalists as well as GameStar magazine printing a next year release. Lastly, there have been pre-order cases with dates on them, but take this with a grain of salt as distributors and vendors are always pushing pre-order sales with dates just to build up hype or momentum with their consumer base. I'd also like to mention that CDPR has liked the marketing schedule Bethesda has done with Fallout games, which is releasing a game months after announcing. If we do get a release date at Gamescom, which is somewhat unlikely, expect it to be no more than 4 to 5 months out. There's also one small thing, and that's the ESRB ratings for Cyberpunk. On the main website cyberpunk.net, at the bottom of the screen, there's a rating pending ESRB, but if you click on the forums at the bottom, there's a mature ESRB rating. This might also mean that the game is further along than we think. That's about it for this video, guys. Make sure you subscribe for more Cyberpunk content, and let me know what release date you're expecting in the comments. Are you leaning more towards a 2019 or 2020 release date?